So MGK and Sean Strickland are going at it right now. I'm going to read to you a couple of articles from different outlets to sort of give you a different perspective on how each article is looking at this. Because, quite frankly, what we have going on here is a war of cultures. You see, Sean Strickland, we already know about his background. I've talked about his background several times in this particular channel. And not only that, no lie, Sean Strickland brings me a lot of views. Mainly because in a YouTube platform, unlike the mainstream platform of the world, what you have going on is sort of a rogue element of entertainment, at least within YouTube, and at least within the earlier days of YouTube when they were allowing you to, let's say, use other people's music or didn't have the type of restrictions that they do now. But either way, Sean Strickland and MGK is a very interesting beef. We all know about the beef that MGK had during one of these runway red carpet events where Conor McGregor threw a drink at him. And once again, Sean Strickland going at MGK, it's a little bit different. They did have a confrontation with each other, although nothing was physical or any of those violent altercations going on. So as a result, there really wasn't any thing to report about on that. But the way that they're going at each other, I think is a little bit interesting, right? Because Machine Gun Kelly trashes Sean Strickland for being a racist and a homophobe. Now, the racist part, I don't know if we can judge a man only based on his past, because obviously we know that Sean Strickland was a former neo-Nazi and was affiliated with neo-Nazi gangs in Orange County in Southern California, right? So this is a known fact about the guy. But is he that now? The answer is no. In terms of ideological races, he's not. But does he say racist things? Well, I gotta tell you, the only reason why I don't like Sean Strickland, if you look at the thumbnail of this video, it says base versus degeneracy. Meaning that if I'm gonna have to pick a side between Sean Strickland and MGK, I don't know, man. I'd probably pick Sean Strickland just based on the fact that he seems to be more of the guy that's based, whereas Machine Gun Kelly, honestly, promotes nothing but degeneracy and feminine behavior. Now, let's read what Sports Illustrated has to say about this, right? Machine Gun Kelly speaks on UFC's Strickland for the first time since their altercation in February. Okay, so they did have an altercation in February, but obviously nothing physical came out of it the way that Conor McGregor threw a drink at Machine Gun Kelly at the red carpet event. Strickland finally got a response from his least favorite celebrity, Machine Gun Kelly. I don't know if that's his least favorite, but for now it is, because he's obviously in his crosshair. And MGK versus Strickland. We all know Strickland, not one to hold his tongue for anybody. This is Sports Illustrated saying this. He was as outspoken as possible when he reigned as the UFC's middleweight champion. Though his title reign didn't last long, Dricus dethroned him by split decision at UFC 297. We know all that. Strickland stayed very much in a public eye following the title loss, making headlines with his political views, campaigning for a title shot, and a verbal altercation with Machine Gun Kelly in February while attending a power slap event in Vegas. Okay, so that's what it was. It was a power slap event. Face to face, Sean Strickland apparently made fun of Kelly's attire. A real Sean Strickland thing to do, because if you're not wearing anything that is just a plain old white shirt or jeans, he's gonna get at you, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Sean wear some khakis and Cortezes and whatnot. But surprisingly, even the Peckerwoods and the neo-Nazi gangs do that as well. But neither here or there. Okay, so Strickland was reportedly booted from the event thereafter, okay, because he called him a vampire and a weirdo. So here's a picture of Sean Strickland face-to-face confrontation with Machine Gun Kelly. Let's see this, if there's any volume here. Okay, so there's no volume here whatsoever. It's just Sean Strickland. Yeah, it's just the music in the background. And okay, so that's all it really is. Just for the whole entire minute of that. The controversial contender has spoken many times about meeting MGK, most recently taking a jab at a rapper on Saturday with no pushback from Kelly until now. So this is what Sean Strickland wrote over the weekend. August 24, 2024. Today is the 29th, so 5 days ago. So there was a point when black guys were cool, and I think the downfall was when they accepted MGK into the community. Ish got real questionable after MGK's little G-A-Y, little satanic, I don't know, maybe was the blood drinking. So let me explain to you what Sean Strickland means by this, right? Obviously, Machine Gun Kelly is a rapper. He's accepted in the black community. He's known to a lot of hip-hoppers, a lot of people that are in that space. And all of a sudden, he started dating Megan Fox, and I don't know if there's a correlation to that to any degree, although there is no evidence to suggest that fact or otherwise. However, things started to change when he got into the mainstream world. He's with a girl who's from Transformers. All of a sudden, he starts becoming a little bit more liberal when it comes to dressing up like a girl, dressing up like a vampire, doing all these satanic things and all these questionable acts that men should not engage upon, at least not straight men for that matter. So, moving on, MGK says, racist and homophobic Strickland, not my type of guy. I do nothing but commit myself to art, and there's another funny factor of just like the art of me standing existing makes people furious, Kelly said on Impulsive. Okay, so this was on the Impulsive podcast where he was there with Logan Paul. Obviously, both of these guys are Ohio guys, right? So, yeah, that's the reason why, and the connection between Machine Gun Kelly and the Paul brothers. So, Machine Gun Kelly says, I don't know this guy from a crumb of bread, Kelly said about Strickland. I didn't know who he was when I met him. I got hip afterward that he's like insanely racist and homophobic, just not my type of guy. So in other words, he doesn't really know much about Sean Strickland. He's just taking it as face value of what people are saying. So of course he's going to say that other people are going to tell Kelly that Sean Strickland is racist. Other people are going to tell Kelly that he's, homophobic, racist. Look, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. That H word, I don't believe in it. I don't believe there are people that are really like that, right? I think the only reality of that is, let's say, if you catch my drift on this one, let's say Elton John challenged you to a fight and you back down. You're afraid of Elton John. And Elton John happens to be what? The H word. So therefore, you have a phobia of Elton John. You understand what I'm saying to you? So that's what he is in a nutshell. He's not afraid of Elton John, or any Elton John for that matter, or Jussie Smollett. So the idea of being phobic, I think there has to be a certain level of fear there for that to exist. And if you don't fear them, I don't know if you can be called phobic. So that's why I sort of disagree that the word has any particular meaning other than the literal interactions that come with that literal word of phobic, of being afraid. But anyways, not to get off the tangent, Strickland has made controversial comments before regarding LGBTQ. Okay, look, here's the thing, right? So obviously, there's a lot of things that I agree with Sean Strickland on, right? a lot of things that I agree with him on. There's also a lot of things that I don't agree with him on, specifically the fact that he has a very distasteful take towards Islam. Okay, I understand that. Here's the thing, though. I agree with Sean with a lot of things, other than the Islamic part, right? Obviously, he doesn't have any like desires to wanting to be a Muslim, nor does he think that any of our ideas are good, even though there's high divorce rates in the West, but that's neither here or there, not the type of conversation for this sake. But I agree with Sean Strickland with a lot of things, right? Look, here's the thing. When you're talking about a certain community, I don't think you should really give them any clout whatsoever, right? Okay, if you don't like them, that's fine, but talking about it doesn't really help in terms of your career and in terms of the backlash that you get out of it. Now, again, you can say whatever you want, but for me, I'm just not going to say anything that I know is going to cause unnecessary controversy. So that's what it is. So Sherdog, let's read what Sherdog has to say about this. Ex-UFC champ, and by the way, they emphasize that part, ex-UFC champ, because obviously this is Sherdog, and it's an MMA site, so they're going to be accurate about everything, whereas mainstream sites are going to say UFC champion Sean Strickland, even though we saw the Dricus du Plessis fight. But you know what I mean by that. Sherdog is going to be a little bit more accurate. So getting lectured by a guy, okay, so this is Sean Strickland on Twitter saying, getting lectured by a guy who drinks blood and wears a purse. Dog, you had a midlife crisis tattooed your entire body. The X-community of tolerance. Y'all, I'd hang out with you toxic trolls any day over this cunt. Go back to cutting yourself, you effing weirdo. So that's Machine Gun Kelly in a nutshell. Let's hear what Machine Gun Kelly said on the Paul podcast, because we have the footage right here. Let's play this.
And there's I do nothing but commit myself to art, and there's another funny factor of just like the art of me standing or existing makes people furious. And I
saw one of them. I don't.
Well, it's not that. I think the fact that you dress like a certain type of person, I think infuriates people, meaning that you are in a genre that emphasizes nothing but hyper-masculinity. Now, look, I understand there's this new age going on now and this and that. They're part of the hip-hop culture and this and that. Here's the reality of things, right? The reality of things is this. Rap and the gangster culture will always be hyper-masculine, no matter how you cut it.
Which one?
The Strickland one.
I don't know this guy from a crumb of bread, right? I didn't know who he was when I met him. I got hip afterward that he's like insanely racist and homophobic and just not my type of guy, so I would have never even wanted to shake hands with him in the first place.
So, in other words, you didn't really know who he was. He didn't know him from a can of paint. But here's the thing, right? You should never listen to what other people say. That's the best response that I have for what Machine Gun Kelly just said right now. Don't listen to what other people say, because yes, it is true that he was part of a racist gang in California, but is he racist now? And these are the nuances that we really have to understand. You also got to understand people like Machine Gun Kelly really don't think that far, nor that their minds allow them to advance towards these nuances.
But he also is just a representative of every person who's too scared to just be themselves, because if you're comfortable as yourself, you don't care who anybody else is.
Well, look, not to sound like a Sean Strickland supporter by any means, but I think Sean Strickland is not afraid to be himself. And here's the thing, just because you express yourself in a way that is undesirable to a lot of straight men out there, well, you also got to understand it doesn't mean that he's afraid to be himself, because he could really just be himself.
And how they are.
Agreed. I'd met him that night too, and I can't say anything bad because my experience was vastly different because I'm not you, and he didn't have a visceral reaction. We shook hands. It was very.
All right, shout outs to Mike. I forgot how to say his last name. It's very Eastern European like. But yeah, he's obviously the manager and the co host of the Logan Paul Impulsive podcast. And obviously, he's a little bit older than Logan. The guy's my age. So I give him props in the world because he has a lot of emotional intelligence and can really be fair and objective and reasonable. So shout outs to Mike for that one.
Very cordial. We talked for like 5 minutes and I walked away. But I know of everything that he exists as on Twitter, and he fits very nicely into that community of exactly what you just said, which is kind of intolerance and just desire to spew hatred.
So I gotta be honest, right? There is something to that with Mike, with with what he just said right now. There's a lot of people out there that are very toxic in the world of Twitter, in the world of mixed martial arts internet culture. That's a very prevalent thing, and Sean Strickland is that guy for all of them, because you got to remember, there's the mixed martial arts culture of the gym, and then there's the mixed martial arts culture of the internet. And the people who are the ones that are outside of the gym and in the internet, they have a different way of viewing the sport and viewing the world. And Sean Strickland is that guy that sort of feeds their worldview in, I think that's what it is. He feeds his worldview in a confirmed bias type of way.
He's so dumb that I'm going to tell him right now, you should not keep saying stuff because it just makes me look better, but you're going to keep saying stuff. So I know that you'll react.
Well, he says that it's just going to make MGK look better, but to who? To the people that already support you? Sure. But what about the people on his side? I think that nobody looks bad when it comes to beef, right? You only look bad for people that already want to see the bad in you anyway. And for the people that see the good in you, no matter what, they can't stop it no matter what the other person is saying.
React and say more things, but you just shouldn't. As a person who's just giving you big bro advice, learn this. Shut the fuck up and don't speak on me anymore and live your life. But you won't, and I'm going to continue laughing at you because you're a fucking idiot.
I just felt bad for Dingo.
Dingo's an idiot. I love him, but
Dingo introduced them.
Yeah,
and he's like,
it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
All right, so that's a wrap right there. I don't know who Dingo is, but yeah. So again, a little bit of some interesting clash of cultures there and whatnot. So obviously, this is from SureDog. I'm giving you two different websites and how they look at these things. Okay, Strickland was developing a beef with musician Colson Baker, which is a real name of Machine Gun Kelly, who is professionally known as MGK. It all started with Strickland running into the power slap. Okay, so they talk about that. They give you the context. More recently, during an appearance of Versus with Eric Nixick's podcast. So here's what's interesting. The other news media outlets didn't talk about Sean Strickland's response. Now, again, this article right here is on the 28th. Today is the 29th as I am recording this. And they didn't talk about Sean Strickland's response, so that could be the reason why, but I just thought that was interesting to bring up. So Strickland even apologized to Fox for his comments, which allegedly led to her children getting bullied. Wow, okay, so her children got bullied. Megan Fox, I'm assuming, is what he's talking about. Okay, claimed Fox DM'd him about his previous comments. Okay, so Megan Fox actually DM'd Sean Strickland because of their children getting bullied and picked on. Okay, so, however, that did not stop him from going off on MGK in a rant on social media earlier this week. So he says, and I quote, so there was a point when, okay, I mentioned that. This is the other article from the other page, which was TMZ, and this is SureDog. No, that wasn't TMZ. That was Sports Illustrated. Well, okay, let's read what TMZ has to say about MGK, right? I think it's basically the same thing. Let me just read through here just to see if there's any differences. Getting lectured, okay. So straight down. But interestingly enough, he waved the white flag to the actress. Okay, so TMZ, in regards to Megan Fox, they say that Sean Strickland waved the white flag to the actress. Now that sounds like something TMZ would say about Megan Fox and MGK. Now, they're trying to make Megan Fox look as the better light, right? And there's a reason for that. Obviously, TMZ is predicated on shooting and filming celebrities and interviewing them randomly in the streets. And for them to get any type of credibility towards them, they can't really go that hard at them unless it's reasonable to any degree. But on any hand, that's really all that we have for this particular article and this particular storyline that is going on in the world of MMA and elsewhere and everything in between. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next content to come, inshallah.